Soon after I got news that my husband, Charlie, would be deployed to Iraq, I got a raging sore throat and felt like someone had whacked me on the back of my head. I also started to look at Charlie as if he were a ghost, a fleeting presence, especially if he was acting normal, talking and laughing. Looking back, I must have been terrified of what was about to happen, and it made no sense to me that life was going on as usual. Then Charlie decided to gather the family together for a going-away speech, which was akin to speaking from beyond the grave, as he thanked each of us for being in his life and told us he wanted us to know how much he loved us in case anything happened to him during deployment. Our teenage daughter and I fell into tears, and our youngest daughter just sat there, probably too young to process all the what-ifs in the conversation. Seeing how he seemed to have a handle on what was happening, I began to feel a divide in our experience of the same event. He was moving forward, preparing for his first ever war experience, and I was staying behind, unsure how to cope with our separation. We already had been married for 22 years. So let me entertain you with some of my internal gyrations that surfaced as thoughts or feelings pre-deployment. I felt I was being left behind, abandoned, and that nobody cared. I felt that the Army was stealing my husband away from me, like some evil sorcerer who I was powerless to reach. I felt that the whole situation was unfair to me, my marriage, and my family. I didn't know anyone else who was in the same situation as myself. I was not living on a military post, and I had never imagined that my husband would be sent to do research in a war zone. I was dismayed when I received 2 identical packets in the mail a week apart with information on support for spouses during deployment. Didn't anyone know that I'd already gotten the first one? Was the system of support that disorganized and impersonal? I wondered how the war experience would change our relationship. Our lives had been intertwined for so long, going back to college days. He was usually the first person I would want to share anything with, and anytime we were apart for travels, conferences, and such, I missed having him around to talk to. I also wondered if I'd go nuts without physical contact. How would I deal with missing him? We didn't talk about any of this. It was like he was already gone. His focus was on doing whatever it took to ready himself for being in Iraq. He had all of this equipment spread out in the sunroom. I dubbed it the deployment room, as he was going through lists of supplies to bring. When the day came for him to leave, I hugged him and started to fall apart. And he didn't want any part of this. He said something like, "Come on," and had such composure that I felt even more of an idiot for being so emotional. He left, and I was alone, sitting on the stairs beside the living room, falling into a funk of sadness. I felt that a piece of me had walked out the door, and that without this piece, I wasn't sure how to hold myself together. So began a journey of finding my strength without him, and also my ability to build a community of support. I turned to my friends, to other parents at my younger daughter's school, and to email contacts to ask for their positive thoughts, prayers, blessings, and wishes for Charlie's safety and for the well-being of our family. I specifically asked others to visualize his return home, and did this myself. I was already engaging in movement expression as a yoga teacher and dancer, and I utilized these practices to stay grounded and to have a nonverbal way to give some form to my feelings. It just so happened that the choreographer of my dance company decided to create a dance called Always Near, and this became my place to put my desire to connect with Charlie on an emotional level. The way we actually did connect during his deployment was very matter-of-fact, just brief check-in calls where he would update me on his whereabouts or just to say he was okay. The life of our relationship was kind of on hold, and I learned to accept that this was just the way it was. Of course, when Charlie did return safely, I was ready to resume where we left off, but he wasn't. Our whole family was excited to have him home, and he could see this, but it seemed more like he wanted to go curl up in a ball somewhere. There was something out of reach about him, and I wasn't sure how to be with this. I tended to give him space, and so I felt I was still missing him while he was right here. I found I had to wait. I had to gather great patience, had to allow him to unroll himself bit by bit as he was tightly coiled. He especially seemed far away while he was sleeping next to me. It was like he was in a cocoon, or wanted to be in a cocoon, gathered into himself, and I missed finding his arm draped around me. The space between us turned into a gap. I had to hear it from a wise friend of mine to change my approach to this gap. "Move in," she said. "Bring yourself closer." It was up to me to bridge the gap, which Charlie probably wasn't even aware of. It was as simple as bringing my posture more forward toward him during a conversation. I found that this wasn't intrusive. It was supportive to both of us. It was a way of saying, "I'm here, no matter where you are or where you've been." A way of crossing the divide to the present moment, a place to meet. I have tremendous gratitude for this meeting place which offers itself to us on any given day.